Hey everyone. So I absolutely love my tower planters. So that's my green stalks that you see here or my garden tower too. But there's probably one thing that I don't care for, which is having to remember to do certain things such as watering them. And most of my things are automated with like a drip system or they're on sprinklers, but the garden tower and the green stalk are a little trickier because of two things. One, their sheer size, right? They're a lot bigger than other systems, and that they spin. So the green stalk, for example, has an automated watering system, but the moment you attach it, you can no longer spin it. And I love the fact that I can spin these towers so that I can kind of rotate the sunlight. So I'm about to go on vacation. I figured I need to figure out a solution for this, otherwise my plants are going to die. And I'm going to show you the design that I came up with. I'll show you the parts that I used and the process of setting it up for myself. And then at the very end, I'll show you what it looks like. So let me first start off by showing you how it looks right now. So first, you're going to need to have some type of water source. In this case for me, I have this 1/4-inch tubing that's a drip line. If you have a sprinkler head, you can use an attachment as well that you can then put on these 1/4-inch drip line hoses connected to if you want. But the idea is you'll need some type of water source somewhat nearby. I then used a shepherd hook. And as you can see, next to each tower, there is a shepherd hook right behind it. I have the drip line coming above or attached to it, going up and around. And then I finally have, these are meant for kind of like a micro sprinkler with a stake, but I've inverted it so that I have something more rigid and pointing down towards, in this case, the GreenStalk basin. So that's kind of like the basics of the idea. Very similar with the garden tower too. The only difference is that instead of having a basin, because the garden tower 2 doesn't support that, I just have a 360, let me focus on that, a little 360 head that's going to spray the top, and then hopefully that should make everything moist enough while I'm gone. All right, so let's talk about what we need now. The first thing is you're going to need that shepherd's hook. I recommend something tall like this 84-inch one. They do sell I think it was like 60 inches, but you have to remember that it measures from the peak of this little roundabout all the way to the bottom of the spikes. So while it sounds like it's tall enough, it's actually not, even for something as short as the garden tower 2. So I recommend the 84-inch one. You can of course get a single stick, but I like that this kind of helps by getting me closer to the center, and that applies to both of them. So 84-inch one. The other thing that's nice about these is that there's technically 2 stakes, one on this side and one at that side, which helps with stability. What's next is that you're going to need the 1/4-inch micro tubing. This is going to be going from your water source, whether it be from the 1/2-inch tubing for drip lines, or if you have a sprinkler head that you can add on a drip line attachment. But either way, you'll be using this to go up the stake. Next, we will need the stake. I find that it's nice to have something rigid to kind of make it so that you get to the location that you want to water. I found that when I tried it with just the tubing by itself, it tends to kind of move around when the pressure when it's turning on. The other thing too is if you don't care about the spinning feature, you can probably get away with just, putting the hose in with a clamp and be done with it. If you do want it to spin like I do, then you are going to have to separate the hose from the system like I did by having it attached to the shepherd's hook. I do have cable ties just to make it a little cleaner, having it attached to the shepherd's hook. And then for me, since I do have it attached to the 1/2-inch drip line hose, I do have these barbed connectors and a way to just puncture a quick hole. All right, so the first thing that we want to do is punch a hole into our 1/2-inch line right here. So I'm just gonna pick a spot. I have this tool where I just gotta punch it in. Yep, there we go. Looks like there's some leftover water. And then I'm gonna put my my barbed adapter in there. Now, I recommend, if possible, to try and either have some warm water or leave this tubing out in the sun so that it kind of softens up a little bit. It makes the bending and also the attachment a lot easier. So we're going to attach one end of the tubing to this barbed adapter. There we go. And then next, using my zip ties, I'm going to just attach it to my shepherd's anchor. I'll speed it up because I'm just gonna bring it up all the way to the top. All right, so the tubing, as you can see, is now zip tied to the entire shepherd hook. I left it there on the top. Now we're gonna zip tie the stake. And what I like about the stake is that it also has this hole right here that really helps it attach really well. So the idea is to get a rough idea of where it's going and being able to adjust the rest of the stem to make sure that it's inside the basin. So this right here looks pretty good. I can even move it a little bit lower and it's inside the basin, which will be watering and filling it in. So I'm gonna zip tie this up and I'll show you right after. All right, so now I've used 3 zip ties to attach the stake onto the shepherd's hook, and now we can see that the head is inside the basin, so we'll be filling up the basin afterwards. And during that time, this thing can still spin. You might be saying that, just in case you're wondering, you know, you're like, hey, well, what if you had tall plants? I would just readjust it. Maybe I would like have it go off of the top of the hook or something else, but I usually put my taller plants, like my tomatoes, near the bottom because I like having the support anyways. So usually my stuff up top, right now I don't have anything, but on the other one I have strawberries. So I don't expect them to get too tall, and that's something to consider. In this case, my hook is a little bit further away. I can also move that closer. That's something to consider as well. So the only thing that's left now is to attach this right there and adjust the knob, but I'll have to turn on the water to adjust the water there. That's going to be case by case, depending on how long you run your drip system for, how much you want to water your system. So that's something that you'll have to adjust on your own. All right, just did the final attachment right there. If you like, you can cut it shorter. I did it with this one to make it look cleaner, but afterwards I realized I don't think it really makes too much of a difference. And then in case I want to adjust it, I just left it longer going forward. Same thing with the other one. So let's turn it on and I'll show you what it looks like. All right, the system's running, and check it out. You see, it's just filling up the basin, and I can still rotate because these two are disconnected. This is the one we just set up. I can adjust here with the nozzle if I want to adjust the amount of water. Might make it a little bit higher. Oops, nope. There we go. And then lastly, I might need to adjust this one a little bit, but you kind of get the idea. It's kind of sprinkling that water a little bit, and I'll adjust this later on so that we have a bigger ring around, since I need two hands for that. There we go. Just did the adjustment. Might be a little hard to see, but the idea is that it is watering the top of my garden tower. So it's not the same idea as the other ones where you're kind of filling up a basin. So I kind of have to select something that hits roughly most of the garden tower there, and hopefully the roots from the lower levels will be able to absorb it. So hopefully this is helpful. I really am a fan of this design since all of these towers can still spin, which is a huge feature that I love. And hopefully this is helpful for all of you too. Thanks everyone.